Welcome to the Multiply Your Success podcast, where each week we help growth-minded entrepreneurs and franchise leaders take the next step in their expansion journey. I'm your host, Tom Dufour, CEO of Big Sky Franchise Team, and in today's episode, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And I'm sure you've been hearing and reading and watching the news and buzz all around artificial intelligence, but have you started incorporating it into your business? Or maybe you've been wondering how you go about and do that. Well, our guest today is Peter Guirguis, and he shares with us how there are simple ways to integrate artificial intelligence into your marketing efforts with such simple things as helping out with your website chatbot. Now, Peter is a seasoned digital expert and a dynamic force behind his company, SwiftPress Support, a game-changing venture offering unparalleled technical support to WordPress website owners. With a rich history as the founder of Grace Digital Solutions, Peter has a track record in crafting exceptional websites for a diverse clientele, from businesses to personal brands. His commitment to excellence is evident in his ability to communicate intricate technical details and tech-savvy clients, ensuring they achieve their digital goals. You're going to love this interview with Peter, so let's go ahead and jump right into it.
I'm so glad to be here. So my name is Peter, and I am the owner of SwiftPress Support. Our company builds websites for business owners that helps them get more sales.
I love it. Well, part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the show was to really talk about how artificial intelligence is really changing the digital landscape. And obviously, it's been a huge buzzword the last year-ish or so, and it's really coming into force here. So I'd love for you just to talk about how you see just something simple such as a website or a WordPress website. How's artificial intelligence impacting that?
Yeah, I love that question, Tom. And AI really has been such a game changer in our industry. And the thing is that before, what used to be a huge problem of hey, somebody's going to be creating their business website, and what are they going to put for the text, and how do they know what to put for the about page? Well, usually that would take such a tremendous amount of time because, business owners wouldn't know what to put on the pages, and they wouldn't know what's going to, bring in new business. But now with AI, you can go and have a chat with these, with different models and different AIs and different intelligence. And there's so much of them. We can talk about, the different kinds, and you can basically get, something that's absolutely amazing out of AI. And basically what used to take you days can be done in minutes.
That's incredible. So just for example, with some of these tools, and so many of our clients I know that we work with, and even our websites hosted on a WordPress site, what kind of tools, you mentioned some of these tools that they might use. Are there various tools or plugins that might help support some of this? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So I think for a lot of times for our fellow listeners, some people, some business owners are going to be DIYers, but a lot of times they're going to have maybe, a company that maybe they outsource to that takes care of their website. WordPress, for example, is the number one most popular website building platform in the world. So there's approximately, at the time of us recording this episode, there's approximately 1.98 billion websites on the internet. And of those, 840 million are powered by WordPress. So that comes up to 42% market share with WordPress. And so the advantage of using WordPress is that you're basically going to have this huge ecosystem where you're going to have kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You can do anything in any business. And especially, for folks maybe who are looking to franchise, that can be also very advantageous to have a WordPress website because you'd be able to do so much with it. With the different AI models that are out there, definitely at the number one spot at the moment is going to be ChatGPT. So they're going to be probably the best algorithm out there. And coming in at a close second is going to be Google Bard, probably at number two with the quality of their answers and its capabilities. And then number three will be Anthropic. That would be number three. So if you go and do a Google search for all those, each one has kind of its pros and cons and the different areas where they excel in. But basically, any tools on WordPress are probably going to have some kind of ChatGPT integration, since it is probably the most popular at the moment. You're going to find plugins like Elementor, Divi, all sorts of different WordPress plugins. You just do a search for AI, look for things that are popular, and you'll be able to find some kind of AI integrations. And if you're that DIYer, you want to do it yourself, go ahead and have a stab at it. But we always recommend that you do hire a professional because they're going to know what are the best practices and be able to do things that are kind of maybe even research based, based on science that to help you get quality leads into your business and that will result into sales.
How do you see this starting to just influence web design, layout? How's it impacting the whole general landscape there?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So the way that AI works is that it's basically an LLM model, which stands for a large language model, which means that it's trained on all these different, websites, articles, text, basically in the billions. So the way that AI is changing the landscape is that it's helping to come up with text. If you need the text, you need help with assistance with, what to put on your website, you can ask, for it. And you know what? Just because you also need to learn kind of the art of prompting. So basically what you put into the prompt is basically what you get out. So if people sometimes say, oh, I went to ChatGPT and I typed in this one sentence and, I got, whatever answer, such a generic answer. Well, yeah, that's because your prompt was very basic, but you need to be able to know to speak the language, even though it's basic English, and of course it's multilingual. But if you know how to create the best prompt, you can get absolute gold nuggets out of AI. And not only can AI help you with text, but it can also help you with images. So the image landscape, it's changing dramatically. And you're able to have like all these different AI tools like Midjourney, or also ChatGPT can create video emails. You also have DALL-E 3. There's all these different ones that can create images for you. And currently, there's both pros and cons. The AI is able to create some beautiful images, but when it comes to creating realistic images like me and you, one of the problems that it has is creating images with all 5 digits. You'll find that AI spits out, like a 6th digit, that's kind of weird. Or some kind of anomalies where the eyes don't look natural. So the AI teams are quickly working to fix this. By the time of this episode recording, that issue has still been around, and it's been around for about a year. Teams are still looking to improve upon that, but that's kind of some of the ways that you can use AI with layouts, with design, with text.
You mentioned a problem that's been ongoing. We're talking about current trends, what's happening right now. Where do you see this going? Just from your vantage point, you're in the thick of this every day, mixed in. And I get asked this about franchising because I'm in the middle of it every day. It's what I do. So I'm curious where you see this going over the next 5 years of the integration of artificial intelligence and landing pages and websites. And how do you see all of this playing out, or where do you see it heading?
I definitely see that AI is going to have more and more of a prevalent role in the website design space. I do think that you're still going to need to outsource, website design and website maintenance, because ultimately you want somebody that's going to be able to know what the best practices are. And sometimes you need to add new products to your website. You also need somebody to maintain it, to make sure it's up to date, to keep it secure out of hackers. Security is still something that is of top concern, and you're going to need to outsource that. And you're also going to need to build maybe new landing pages and to create changes. So the whole point of using, different companies with your website is to buy back your time. And I think, that's really important. And I think that's really also what you teach on your podcast, Tom, about buying back your time. That's really important, and that's the beauty of the franchise model and why it's so successful. Even though, AI is going to have a deeper integration, and sure, you can do things by yourself, you still are going to need to have an expert who maybe uses AI well, but you're also going to see that prices are kind of be coming down because, people who are charging, you can still probably, hire a company that charges $10,000, $20,000 for a website, but probably you can get something very close for much cheaper from somebody else because they know how to use AI. So I think that AI is going to level the playing field, and the days of charging for astronomical prices for websites is going to be changing pretty soon, unless you're going to hire like some big agency to do like branding with logos and like a whole strategy. That is still going to be around for a while.
It's really going to be a collaborative approach, right? Balancing when you need various forms of creative people and technical teams coupled with the artificial intelligence that's available for use and how it all syncs up together, right? It's the combination of all of that that's going to happen.
Yes, 100%. You're absolutely right. So some of those things are still going to be around, but still, AI is definitely changing the landscape.
I noticed here in preparation for this, the idea of virtual reality being integrated into this as well. And one of our recent guests, he's a client, top tier canine, he's been using virtual reality to actually train dog trainers for his franchise system, which is really interesting that he's doing that. I think he's really on the leading edge of that. And I'd be curious about how you see virtual reality starting to integrate into other businesses or what you're seeing just on that landscape.
I definitely do see that virtual reality is going to be a trend in the future. I don't know if it's going to be the near future, like in the next year or so. I think I see it like it's definitely gaining more market share and more traction, but not as much as like AI or different things. But what I am seeing more is going to be augmented reality. And the difference there is that like you have augmented reality is like where you can put on, those goggles or, a headpiece. And basically you're seeing your current environment that you're in right now, but you're seeing a digital layer or virtual layer on top of it, and you can interact with it. And that I'm thinking that is probably going to take off a lot faster, or it's going to take off first before virtual reality, although virtual reality is still going to be around. So I like augmented reality a lot at the moment. I think Apple's new headset that they're releasing, it's coming out in a few months. They announced it last year, but it's coming out this year. It's going to come out at a whopping $3,500. So it's very expensive. But the thing is, so I don't know if it's going to have mass adoption, but that's their first, product out there that's going to be able to do that. And the things that you can do with it is amazing. So imagine being in your office right now, and you're able to pull up a file and just like you have these goggles and you're able just with your hands, you can just like make changes to it. You can speak, you can do whatever you want, put it around. And at the same time, you're seeing everything in your office. So let's say, for example, a member of your family walks in, you're going to see them still through your goggles and able to interact with them. You don't have to take off the headset. I'm really excited about augmented reality, and I still see virtual reality is still going to be something to watch out for in the future.
Very interesting. Well, and noting that Apple's is coming out, albeit it sounds like it's expensive. One thing we've learned when Apple releases a product, they're often not the first to market, but they are able to bring it to a mass market and create user adoption on a mass scale. So that'll be interesting to see if we see another pattern happen in that regard. Well, Peter, this is a great time in the show where we make a transition and we ask every guest the same 4 questions before they go. And the first question we ask is, have you had a miss or two on your journey and something you learned from it?
It's more like 10 or 20. Okay. Could be even 50 or 100. But definitely I've had plenty of misses, Tom. One of the ones that I like to share is, early on in my business career, when I first started my first business, I just wanted to make some extra income. And because I wanted to do that, I had my kids, they were born, and I just found like, that my corporate job at the time just wasn't cutting in a lot of money. I wasn't able to pay all the bills. And so I said, hey, I'm going to start a side hustle, just to see what, if I can bring in some extra money on the side. And so at the time, I was really good with time management and like productivity. So I said, okay, what can I do with this? And I said, okay, let me create like, some small like little mini courses where I could teach like, time management and productivity. And I would wake up every day at 4 a.m. just so I could like, build my website and create these little mini courses about time management and productivity. And I was selling them for like, $19.95 each. And so behold, I went and I launched it and I did everything and I sat there and I marketed it. And at the end of the day, after I did the launch, I made a whopping 1 sale. $19.95, and I ended up even refunding that person their money back. And you know what? It just wasn't successful. No matter what I tried to do. And when I look back at that failure, it turns out that really the miss was because I wasn't doing something that was my calling, and that's really important. You really need to do something that you feel like you're called to do. And I was just looking at, hey, what am I good at? Hey, there's this time management and productivity space. And I just didn't have enough momentum to keep it going, to get through the failures and the problems because I wasn't in sync with that. And so that's always part of my message is that, hey, whatever you're doing, make sure that it's what you're called to do because it's going to help you to get through the tough times. And that's really important.
Thank you for sharing. Well, let's talk about a make or two on the other side.
So definitely a make on the other side. after I had that, I went through another miss first where instead of going very low end and I was selling courses for 1995, I tried to go very high end and sell courses and coaching to CEOs for like $5,000 about time management and productivity. And I actually got into debt and I paid on a credit card a $10,000 course that would help me to create courses to sell them to CEOs. And after I did that, again, I sold a big fat goose egg, zero. And then I was $10,000 in debt because I bought that course and I couldn't get a refund. So that was a good idea. So there was a miss first, another miss. And then finally the make was right after that. I had a friend of mine who owned a very successful marketing agency who called me up and said, "Hey, Pete, I know that you're really good at website design. Do you want to do white labeling services for us?" And I said, "White labeling service? What's that?" And so he says, "Well, that's when you basically build websites for our clients, but you act as if you're a part of our staff, but you're actually a freelancer and a contractor." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." And that's how my business started, because a friend of mine, reached out to me to give me some business. And you know what? It just so happened that website design is my calling, and it is what I love to do. I could do it all day, even on the weekends. So I think that was the big make for me. So I hope that's helpful to the listener.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about a multiplier as you've grown, whether businesses that you've owned and operated or helped lead, maybe that you worked at, or just even growing yourself personally or professionally.
One of the multipliers that I'm really proud of is for one of our clients. If I could share about that. Her name is Carrie. She came to me and she is a dietitian. And so she said, that, hey, she sees clients all day and she wanted to build a website where she helps, students in her field pass an exam called the registered dietitian exam. So in order for you to be a dietitian, you have to pass this exam in any state. So she wanted to be able to create a membership site that teaches them, how to prepare for the exam and to pass. And so, we went ahead, we built the website with her and we helped her out and she launched. And you know what? Through her marketing efforts and through the website, she's been able to grow her business significantly. And now she's 3 years down the road and she can quit her own private practice if she wanted to, but she loves it so much that she continues to do it. And she also helps other students to pass the registered dietitian exam. So in that way, it was just, such a blessing for me to be able to be a part of my client's success and to help her to multiply her business.
Well, the final question we ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, I think what success means to me is I think I look at success holistically. Like, I don't just look at it as business success, but I'm looking at, hey, what does success look like in your business, in your finances, in your family, in your spirituality, all these different areas, in your fitness. Success is really important when you look at it holistically. And I think that because we're interconnected beings, that's really important. So success to me is success in all those areas where, you're living a balanced life, where you're having healthy relationships, you're happy, and it's whatever basically you make of it. And I think for me, I just look at it from a holistic approach.
Wonderful. And Peter, as we bring this to a close, is there anything you were hoping to share or get across that you haven't had a chance to yet?
I think the one thing that's most important that I'd love to get across is that, I know that we're talking to different business owners and there are multiple different places in their journeys. And no matter where you're at in your journey, you're always going to have maybe a failure or so, or maybe some fall on some hard times. I think it's really important that during those hard times that you don't give up and that you continue to persevere. And sometimes in order during those times, you need to look outside of yourself. So maybe you have a trusted friend, maybe a business partner, maybe your family member, a spouse, somebody that you could really talk to and that you trust them, and you can tell them what's on your heart and they could be able to help you and give you good advice. And that's what's really helped me during the times when I failed, as I shared on today's episode. And when I've had misses in my business or in my career, it was always friends, family, a trusted confidant, somebody that was really up me and say, hey, you know what, you're going to get through this. Or they're able to give me some advice that I could have thought of by myself. And that's what got me through. So I think having a circle of trust, a circle of friends that can speak into your life is going to be really important.
Wonderful. And Peter, if someone's interested in learning more about what you're doing, or maybe to find out about some of the service or product offerings that you have, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. Best place to do it is to go to my website. So that's swiftpresssupport.com. Swiftpresssupport.com is the website. And maybe tell them if we have a link in the show notes or something, then that would be super helpful. And listeners can click on it and they can get in touch.
Peter, thank you so much for a fantastic interview. And let's go ahead and jump into today's 3 key takeaways. So takeaway number 1 is when Peter talked about being successful with AI and artificial intelligence, it comes down to this prompting skill and learning how to do prompting. Takeaway number 2 is when he talked about the 3 artificial intelligence options available that he thinks are the best on the market today. He said, number 1, ChatGPT, number 2, Google's AI, and number 3, Anthropic. And takeaway number 3 today is when he talked about in his Make, how a friend had reached out to him to help his friend with some digital marketing needs. And to me, the takeaway there is it just shows how important your network is, because Peter had talked about how he really wasn't pursuing his purpose and that his network through his friend helped him figure out and discover what that true calling was for him. And now it's time for today's win-win. So today's win-win is about incorporating artificial intelligence and AI into your business. And the win-win is figuring out a starting point for you. Where is that starting point? It could be something very, very simple, such as just figuring out, what do you write in a birthday card? Try it, ask it, see what happens, and start somewhere to start figuring out where and how you want to try and use this. And the point is, you want to start somewhere. Now, maybe you have already done it and now you're on level 2 and level 3, so I encourage you to keep going. AI is not going away. This is only going to continue to be an important part of business and our society for the foreseeable future. So that's the episode today, folks. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and give us a review. And remember, if you or anyone you know might be ready to franchise their business or take their franchise company to the next level, please connect with us at BigSkyFranchiseTeam.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to having you back next week.